12 years ago, I was a private equity analyst making six figures, working 60 hours a week, and I was pretty unfulfilled with my role. Today, I run a fully remote, boring, old school local business which generates well over $1 million per year in revenue, while I work about 5 hours a week and travel almost full time. Now I've actually franchised the system out, and we're across 40 locations, and there's 40 other entrepreneurs running this exact same model as well. If you're tired of only having 2 weeks of vacation per year, if you're tired of having to ask your boss for time off, this video is exactly for you. I'm going to show you how to build a local, boring business that might just change the way you live. This isn't one of those stories where I absolutely hated my boss and he's a manager, like that one dude in Office Space who's just asking for the TPS reports all the time. That wasn't me exactly, which in some ways makes this a little bit harder because I kind of liked my bosses. I liked loosely the work I was doing in corporate. It was somewhat interesting. My bosses were pretty cool. I just knew this wasn't it. Something felt off. Now, I was raised as a first-generation immigrant, meaning my parents moved here in the 1980s from India, and they created their own business, and they created business out of necessity, right? Because it'd be really hard for them to get a normal job back then. Like a lot of first-generation immigrant kids, like myself, our parents just want us to have safety and security. So a lot of them move us towards careers which have that, which is why a lot of Indian people are doctors, lawyers, and engineers, because these are like the most stable professions ever. And I remember a particular story where there was one entrepreneur who was in the building where I was working, and he was one of the companies we invested in. And this guy started chatting to me. And this guy ran multiple tech companies, and he just asked me, he's like, hey, what do you want? And I wasn't really sure what he meant. I was like, oh, I want to do well at my job. And he kind of laughed. He's like, no, seriously, what do you want? Like, look at the corner office over there. Is that what you want in 10 years? The honest answer was no. No, I didn't say that because my boss was actually listening to the conversation. But the truth is, golden handcuffs are real. There's so many people I speak to who are looking at, made this franchise my company, who are kind of stuck in the golden handcuffs route. The golden handcuffs are where you make a lot of money and you're maybe 80% fulfilled, but there's so much pain and inertia from cutting ties with that and going to something else and starting from scratch that you just stay in that somewhat unfulfilled job. The hardest position to be in is not a job which sucks. The hardest position to be in is a job which you're kind of sort of fulfilled in, but not really, but it pays too well. So you're just kind of stuck because there's not enough pain to get you moving. Luckily, at the point I didn't have the golden handcuffs yet, but I knew that was coming. I knew that was the corner office trap. And I wanted out. I wanted to be a digital nomad, and I tried to find different ways of fulfilling that dream of quitting my job, traveling the world, and not being stuck in the golden handcuffs. I was trying a bunch of stuff, most of which didn't work because the truth is I didn't take any real action. I was just absorbing content, listening to podcasts, feeling like I was being very productive. But the truth was I was stuck in analysis paralysis. Finally, I found my out through one of the most unlikely sources you'd be able to think of. I was scrolling on Reddit when I was supposed to be working and found a post of a guy who started a cleaning company. And I was like, I'm trying all this other new age kind of harder stuff. Let me try a cleaning company. Why not? Let's see how it goes. And it started to work. And in hindsight now, and even looking back then, even I kind of understood exactly why, is that you're taking modern skill sets and applying it to an industry which is at minimum 2 to 3 years behind the curve when it comes to innovation, when it comes to tech, when it comes to anything. And therefore, you could crush the competition just by being average. It was that easy to do. And when I realized what was going on with that, I realized, oh my God, this is my ticket out. It's in this boring old school business model. Now, what is a boring business? Honestly, I feel like this is kind of a buzzword right now. I hear Cody Sanchez saying it. I hear a bunch of other people on YouTube saying, buy a boring business. It's oddly a funny buzzword now. A boring business to me is any unsexy old school business which has been around for a very long time. Think cleaning, landscaping, mobile car washing, pest control, like anything around services typically is a boring old school business. The truth is businesses which have already stood the test of time, you can get some data from that. You understand that these are somewhat recession resistant. Not recession proof, but recession resistant. You understand that these industries have been around for a long time. AI hasn't decimated yet. Tariffs haven't decimated them yet. They're very durable businesses. I think that's the definition of a boring, unsexy, old school business model, which I think means printing cash. Now, in hindsight, here's the reason why I figured out that my boring, old school cleaning business actually worked. Number one, there's a natural moat. Let's say you start an e-commerce company or an AI startup or whatever else online. The truth is you're competing against the world. Anyone in the world could also start that same business, whether in Los Angeles, whether in Nigeria, whether in China. Anyone could start the same business. Now, when you run a boring old school cleaning company or any other service-based business in a local market, mostly your competition and your moat is just the people around you. It limits the competition. So even though these oftentimes are lower barrier to entry industries like cleaning, it doesn't cost much to get in, your prospective competition is also a lot less. And the truth is they're very unsophisticated as well. All right, now hopefully your brain's buzzing and you might be thinking, cool, I'm looking out the window and I could already imagine a bunch of boring, old school, unsexy businesses. Which one do I need to pick? Which one is the best business model? I'm going to go through the exact methodology I've created in what I call the remote local blueprint of how to figure out what is the best remote local business for you to be remote, to have a scalable business, all that kind of good stuff. I have a rule here. You're going to pick one of these type of business models. Either you're going to have a high ticket business model, meaning an average sale price of $1,000 plus minimum. That's probably going to be low recurring, right? Because people are not spending $1,000 to $2,000 constantly. Or you're going to have a low ticket service under $300, but it's going to be high recurring. Think cleaning, think mobile pet grooming, mobile car detailing, low ticket amount, right? Like $200, $300 for cleaning, but people need it oftentimes. You're going to pick one of those two models only. Both of them, I think, work well. Things which don't work would be things, in my opinion, like residential carpet cleaning. It's low ticket, $200, $300 per cleaning, but how often are you really getting your carpet cleaned at your home? Maybe twice a year. Maybe you could stretch it to quarterly if you really wanted to, but most people just don't. Industries like that, just avoid. These are the only two types of models you're going to try to go after. Next, try to pick a need to have service rather than a nice to have service. The nuance is there according to different people. If you're marketing to consumers, some people consider things need to have versus other people things they'll consider it nice to haves. A lot of it has to do with price point. But a need to have service, let's say you live in Arizona and your AC goes out and it's the middle of the summer. That's a need to have service. You need AC or you might die. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. There's kind of full luxury type of services, let's say mobile car detailing. You could do it, you cannot do it. It kind of just depends. There's also the middle. Let's say a mobile pet groomer. People who typically order mobile pet groomers, they're never going to groom their dog themselves. They're not going to sit in the tub and wash their dog. So for them, it is a need to have a service, but maybe not for everyone. It's for the right demographic and price point. So there's different variations of it, but ideally you want some element of a need to have service in this business model that you pick. The next thing to think about is what type of lifestyle do you actually want and how much money do you need from this business to hit that lifestyle? A lot of people try to pick the business model by saying, hey, I'm just going to pick whatever makes me the most amount of money. Which model makes me the most amount of money? This is absolutely the wrong equation to solve for. I'll give you a quick story. I have a buddy named Josh. He worked a 9-to-5. He acquired a power washing business. He's making around $400,000 net per year. A lot of money. And I said, cool. How you liking it? It's been a couple years in the business. Now that you've been running it, how you liking things? Josh told me that he is miserable. And the reason is he bought this business because he wanted to make money to have the lifestyle freedom he wanted to. But now he has a business where he has to be at the yard every morning to give people their assignments. There's vehicles, there's wraps, there's a lot of overhead, there's a lot more stress. So even though he's getting the money he wants, he doesn't have the lifestyle he wants. A lot of people go about this backwards. They say, I'm going to solve the money part first. That'll solve the lifestyle part next. That's not the correct way of doing this, in my opinion, in this day and age where you can be more selective. Pick the ideal lifestyle you want and then find a business model which supports it. Now, if you don't care to be fully remote, pick a model which maybe you're going to go into the office and have supplies. Maybe that works really well for you. But let's say you're like, hey, I want to be remote. I don't want to be tied down to a certain location. Pick a model which will allow you to be remote as well. And there's so many different options of it. For example, my requirement is I wanted to quit my job and travel. And I made this in a way where maybe you're local to start with, but eventually you don't have to be local anymore because cleaners go straight from their home to the job site. There's no expensive office space or supplies or vehicles or wraps, none of that kind of stuff. Because of that, you can manage it from anywhere in the world once you actually get going and have gutting off the ground at first. Some people don't really care about that. They don't really want that. They want to prioritize other things. Think about what type of business model supports your lifestyle and figure that out first before you dive into anything. The next biggest thing to think about is how much time do you actually have to devote to this business model? If you're saying, hey, I only have an hour a day to devote to this and I want it to make $10,000 per month in profit in 6 months so I can quit my job, it's going to be kind of tough to find a business model that does that, or you're going to fall into a lot of scammy type of stuff. The truth is, the more time you invest in the business up front, the faster it grows. I have rarely seen anyone go pure side hustle with a business and it grow extremely fast. I side hustled my business for 2 years before I quit my job. I could have hit the same amount of revenue in 6 to 9 months in hindsight if I just went full on with it rather than side hustled it for a longer period of time. So think about honestly, how much time do you have to devote to this business model, and does this business model need you to have more time in it? For example, let's say you're buying a small gym and the owner is super involved right now, and you said, hey, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to keep my job, and I'm going to hire an operator. Dude, that might not work, because the existing owner of that business needs to spend a lot of time into the business. You're not magically not going to have to spend time into the business. Think about it as a baby. If you have a baby, you're not going to say, great, I'm going to devote 1 hour a day to this baby. You're probably going to devote full-time effort to make sure it gets off the ground well. And after some time, you don't have to devote as much time to raising this baby. It's the same concept in business. Now, if you want a full breakdown of 17 boring business ideas that you could start, I actually made a whole video about this. For the last few years, I've been documenting every single business model which comes to my mind, which I like, and I put this all in a video for you. So I'll put a link somewhere over here. Check it out. So let's say you decide on a business model that you want to start. Now the question is, how do I get started then? I'm going to keep this very simple for you. What you want to do is simply get a website set up, some basic software set up, and get going. That's pretty much it. A lot of times people overcomplicate this and make it a whole process of creating a business plan and like making a checklist to do. That's all analysis paralysis in my opinion. I want you to go to canva.com and figure out some name, make a logo on it, and that's going to be your logo. My first logo was in Microsoft Word, right? I literally typed in made this and screenshotted, and that was my first logo. I figured out how to make a really bad website, threw that online. That was it. And that I was able to make a decent amount of money with just a very bare bones website. The cool thing is nowadays, with all the tech that's out there, you could whip up a website as well as a logo in a matter of an hour. So just figure out where you could build a simple website. That might be Wix.com, that might be Squarespace, it might be some of the softwares that you'll sign up for, which already has a website built in. Spin up a quick logo, buy a domain name, get going. Simple as that is how you're going to get started. When it comes to most remote local business models, remote local business model is a business which is local, but you could run it remotely. A lot of these are businesses where the technician goes straight from their home to the job site. So for Made This and Made This franchise, franchisees run the same model where they don't have an office space. The cleaners go from their home to the job site with their supplies. Think about like mobile car detailing, same concept. Mobile room repair, same concept. There's so many different business models which allow you to have a fully remote local business. By the way, I have a full course on this called the Remote Local Blueprint. Feel free to check it out. I'm going to put it in the show notes here. It's just remotelocalblueprint.com to walk you through exactly how to set this up. But there's different steps of the process we're going to go through of setting up a fully remote local business model once you have your base website as well as logo set up. Now, the cool thing is a remote local business model is relatively simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple. There's literally only 2 problems you solve for. Do I have enough labor? Do I have enough customers? It's kind of it. With our franchisees that made this, we actually have a very elaborate 5-step recruiting process. We set up a software for them. It's kind of like Kanban board style where they can move candidates through and post job ads and all that kind of stuff. You don't need all of those bells and whistles. If you do want those bells and whistles, check out Made This franchise. But what you could do is simply create a bare bones job ad, get ChatGPT to write one for you. Look at your competitors to see how much they're paying, labor, how much they charge, all that kind of good stuff. Take the job ad, post it on Craigslist and post it on Indeed, and start evaluating candidates. Essentially it. One thing we teach franchisees is ABC, always be prudent, because I guarantee you this is never going to be a situation where you onboard one technician and say, great, I'm done, I'm good. That person's going to call out, they're not going to be available. So even though you don't have jobs yet, just constantly recruit and keep people in the pipeline. The next step of the funnel is, how do I get customers now that I actually have some technicians in place? And that's what we're going to get into next. Now, depending on what industry you're in is going to dictate how you get your first customers. For almost all local businesses though, the strategy is relatively similar. Now, we have something called Launch Lab, or a grand launch for new franchisees coming in, where it's a very dedicated 3-month cycle to plan out what they're going to do for launch. The cool thing is I'm actually going to tell you a lot of the steps of it because I think it's very similar for anyone in the home service market. First step is going to be posting publicly about this. Now, this is the part which sounds scariest. We've had franchisees post on their Facebook, on their Instagram, and just texting their friends and family saying, hey, I just started a cleaning company. Let me know if you need anyone who needs it. And all of these referrals started flowing in. You're not selling people, you're just letting them know that you exist, and your friends and family and people in your extended network are going to remember you and want to help you out. Easiest way to get first leads. Your goal is to set up a Google My Business profile in which you're going to set it up with your address and put pictures on there. Then your goal with all these first 50 cleanings or first 50 jobs you're going to do, get a Google review onto that profile. This is step number one. Get your friends and families to refer people, book them for cheap jobs, keep your technicians busy, get Google reviews. If that's the only thing you do for one entire month, you're still winning. Now, as you scale, there's really two types of marketing you should be thinking about. There's online digital marketing and then offline community marketing. What I've found over the last 12 years of doing this is people who are trying to find you online, typically they're higher intent up front, meaning they're online on Google because they want, let's say, a maid service. They're typing maids near me. Clearly, they're in buy now mode. The problem is there's a lot of other people who are paying for their attention as well. So with digital ads, you're going to be spending a lot more money on it, but these are high intent buyers. With offline stuff, doing drop-offs of apartment complexes, posting on Nextdoor, or going to in-person meetups, going to B&Is or Chamber of Commerce's. These types of things are slower burns, but I've found from looking at our 40 franchise locations that these are oftentimes bigger wins. It takes longer to build, but many times people know you, and then this could be an easy source of revenue, which doesn't really cost you any money, just a little bit of time. I recommend doing both. Spend money on digital ads to start with, to have some low-hanging fruit. Pair that with a lot of offline stuff as well. Now, when it comes to digital ads, I have an entire video about the best marketing tactics and what you should do to get your first clients. Let me explain it to you this way. Google typically controls the internet still, even though ChatGPT is taking its traffic right now. So what you want to do is get listed on Google Local Service Ads, Google LSA, and potentially try out Google AdWords as well if you want paid ads. Easiest way of doing it is to spend money. The other way of spending ads online would be meta ads, which I recommend hiring a professional for this if you're going to do, or quoting engines. Quoting engines might be Yelp, Thumbtack, Angie, things like that. Look at your market to see what your competitors are doing, and you can mimic them. You also will know in your market if people even use Thumbtack or Angie's List, and you can make judgments based off of that too. Now, here's the super high-level starter pack for the software you're going to need to launch your fully remote local business and quit your job and all that kind of good jazz. Number one, you're going to need a CRM. That's a customer relationship management software. It's a booking platform, really. Now, depending what industry you're in, there's going to be a lot of softwares for you. Some of the most common ones in home services would be House Call Pro, Jobber, Service Titan. These are some of the more generalized ones. There's probably going to be one for whatever industry you're into. For example, for cleaning, there's a lot of very cleaning-specific software companies. There's Zenmade, there's ConvertLabs, there's Launch27, there's Booking Quality. There's a bunch. Literally Google it for whatever industry you're in. You'll see what software pops up. Pick the one with the best reviews. Go to Facebook groups, ask people, find a software which works for you, and just get launched. The next thing you're going to want is a payment platform. Most of these softwares are going to hook into Stripe. Stripe is one of the biggest companies in the world now where you manage credit card payments. You're going to get hooked into Stripe from there. Afterwards, you're going to need an email system. We just signed up for G Suite, which is Google's email platform. Super easy. Just go to G Suite and sign up. It's like $12 a month for an email, and you get that going. Afterwards, you're going to need a phone system so you don't have people calling your own personal cell. I recommend OpenPhone or Quo. We also use Dialpad as well. Those are good options. Accounting systems. QuickBooks is the easiest one. It's $30 a month. It's not of your QuickBooks, but to get launched, you don't need this to start. Just get started on what I just told you above. That's essentially it. There's optional add-ons I would recommend too. Like eventually, as you start to get leads coming in, you need a way to email them to follow up on them. I recommend Go High Level as a software solution. We use an agency called GBG, Grow Baby Grow Marketing. They set it up for us and all of our franchisees as well. Now, why are you setting up all this software that sounds like overkill? The truth is you probably want a fully remote business, something you can manage from anywhere in the world. You probably want a business that it's not going to have you involved a crazy amount. It's not have a ton of overhead. You need the right systems and software to make this happen. So get it set up from the beginning. It's going to make your life easier down the line. Now, if everything I'm saying sounds kind of overwhelming, you're like, dude, you just threw a bunch of stuff at me. Don't worry about this. I didn't build this overnight. It took me months and years to do. The truth is, do it step by step. As long as you're taking actual real action every day, not just absorbing content and writing plans, you're making the right moves. Now, luckily, I actually put a lot of this stuff online for you. So check out my channel. You're going to be able to figure out videos to make this go faster. Like I mentioned, I have a remote local blueprint course to allow you to do this yourself. Or if you want to get on the rocket ship, check out Made This Franchise as well. And we could just do all of this kind of stuff for you and let you quit your job, travel the world, and have an awesome lifestyle. So hopefully catch you soon.